Discord announced age verification just after their age verification got leaked. They aren't alone. You felt it too. I felt it too. The pressure to give your ID online has become more common, with YouTube, Twitter, and now Discord limiting your interactions with their content or community unless you give your ID into their digital security checks. When the internet started out, it was a barren landscape with no clear rules because lawmakers and politicians were old and unfamiliar with new technology. With users in the last 20 years consistently being from younger generations, laws have had to be enacted to protect children who are using it more and more and more. But that doesn't mean it's right, or it's the reason today. Even though authorities on the matter will say it's to protect children in 2026, it could potentially bring them as much harm as good. In 2000, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act was an act that offered privacy protections for children under 13. It took effect at the federal level, resulting in some websites adding age verification for visitors under the age of 13, and some websites disallowing accounts for users under the age of 13. COPPA was necessary because it had been reported that 89% of children's websites were taking personal information, and many of those websites were not giving privacy notices. Parents weren't involved with their children's website uses or made aware of the dangers of their children's private information being taken without their knowledge. Acts and laws initially passed were of good faith and were trying to protect people from malicious actions on the internet. But with anything, acts and laws can become malicious in themselves. Around 2016, the United Kingdom then passed a law containing a legal mandate on the provision of age verification. Under the Act, websites that published NSFW content on a commercial basis would have been required to implement a robust age verification system. However, after a series of setbacks on how they were going to implement this and big public backlash by the UK, the planned scheme was eventually abandoned in 2019. The worrying thing that we start to see is that these pushes towards age verification keep coming under the guise of for the kids, for the betterment of the kids, to protect children. And with that motivation, it makes people uncomfortable to pushing back against it. And it makes whoever's fighting for these laws sound righteous, and it makes these laws sound justified. But as we look further into the implementation of these laws a little later, we can see, and you probably know already, it makes little sense. And it only escalates from there, as governments push heavier and heavier for digital IDs or an authentication attached to your identity. In 2023 and 2024, age verification substantially increased with the passage of the Online Safety Act in 2023 in the UK, a law in France, laws in 8 US states including Texas and Utah, and proposed at the national level in the US, Canada, Denmark and the EU. Reddit, YouTube and Twitter and many other sites have also put rules and blocks where you have to use digital ID in some cases in the last 5 years. This hit straight after COVID, as the digital landscape grew more and more, with more people being online for social and economic purposes, while it was still hard to track their data and behaviour. Then add to that the rise of better technologies such as data facial recognition and AI, which means that the laws previously failed in the UK, such as the 2016 Act we talked about, would be much easier to implement. The UK tried to implement a full digital ID that would be used to prove you work in the UK. It would therefore include your name, date of birth, information on nationality or residency status, and a photo of yourself. This could be used to enable population level surveillance to track every interaction with the country, or as a big target for hackers to take and steal your data and sell it to the highest bidder. Right now, when they first launched this, they only spoke about interactions between you and the state being very minor. However, with a new government or with time, these things can grow and grow and grow, and the surveillance around what you do and how you do it can grow very quickly. However, there was a clear pushback. Parties across the political spectrum fought back, with different elected officials working together to push back against this. There were local protests and people online and people in real life, letting the government know their boundaries and what they were willing to fight for. So in the end, the Labour Party did a massive U-turn on the policy of digital IDs, drawing it back for now, which is a hopeful sign, with massive corporations and governments looming over us, pushing us back. To get a win this substantial reminds us that we do have power and that we do have influence. But it's still not over. Even more recently, we can see it's not just governments that we have to push back from. Companies are increasingly limiting your digital access. Discord just announced it would implement a mandatory age verification for everyone, even though they recently just suffered a data breach of over 70,000 user IDs. The first option they used is AI to analyze a user's video selfie, which Discord says never leaves the user's device, even though we now know that's a lie, as they work with a third-party company known as Persona that says it stores your information for 7 days and then deletes it, which a lot of people, including myself, really have a hard time believing. If the service puts you in the wrong age bracket, users can appeal it or verify it with a photo of an identity document instead. That document will then be verified by a third-party vendor, but Discord says the images of these documents are deleted quickly, and in most cases immediately after age confirmation. But once again, we have a hard time believing this. When Discord implements Teen by Default settings worldwide in March 2026, all new and existing Discord accounts will be reclassified as teen accounts, forcing all users onto a new set of default settings that can only be changed after completing Discord's age verification. Those settings will restrict the kinds of content you can see, the channels you can participate in, and the people you can communicate with. Discord's global head of product policy told The Verge that Discord is also rolling out an age inference model that analyzes metadata, like the types of games a user plays, their activity on Discord, and behavioral signals like signs of working hours or the amount of time they spend on Discord. Which seems to be hinting at a trend where these companies frequently tell us it's for child safety and protection, and yet they also track our data, habits, and behaviors. Why? I'm going to explain to you why, in rigorous detail, why these companies do this, and it's much deeper than they just want to control you. I want to tell you a story. A while ago, a dad walked angrily into Walmart, demanded to see the manager, and said, "You sent my daughter this," and showed them coupons for baby clothes and cribs. The dad goes off, saying she's still in high school, and questions if they're trying to get her pregnant. The manager's confused, looks at the coupons showing advertisements for maternity clothing, nursery furniture, and pictures of smiling infants, then apologizes, and then a few days later calls to apologize again. On the phone though, the dad was somewhat abashed. "I had a talk with my daughter," he told him. "It turns out there's been some activities in my house I haven't been completely aware of. She's due in August. I owe you an apology." Walmart were able to use her online data, what she was looking at, and make an accurate assumption that she was pregnant. This was before 2013. Data analysis and software engineering have boomed since then. And now we go back to what we discussed about Discord, analysing metadata, behavioural signs, and other data metrics. What else could they monitor? What ads could they sell? Could they accurately predict how a child would grow and turn out throughout the years? What games he would play? What products she would purchase? And give them ads with the correct wording, headlines and imagery to make him click more frequently? What vivid detail could they apply to their ads now they have data for days, months and years of your life? More than Walmart ever did, with a higher level of technology. This then could be easily distributed and sold to other companies or used internally for their own revenue. That's just the first reason why they would want your data in increasing amounts. The second reason can also be that AI and tech companies are lobbying governments to enforce this so they can take data to feed into their AI models for training for faces or for replicating human-like text. In this article on screen, we can clearly see there are big donations from tech companies in the UK like Microsoft, KPMG and Fujitsu. KPMG have spoken pretty positively about digital ID potentially being in the UK, and both MPG and Fujitsu both use AI or make AI models. This shows clearly that the government passing laws in the name of children's protection or in the name of safety, like we've always heard, isn't true. About which company gives them the most money so that these companies can use our data into their AI technologies. The third is closer to a conspiracy than the truth. However, I believe it has a layer of truth, and I think it's important to mention. In 2023, X, also known as Twitter, handed over user data, which includes a selfie and a government-issued ID, to an Israeli software company, where the Israeli firm's employees have links to Israel's intelligence services. The company also works with Uber and TikTok for verification. This once again poses a national security risk where other countries can use firms to gain information about citizens from other countries for many use cases. Governments can potentially want this to limit what we see as citizens of a certain country, limiting our reach to sensitive topics across the world, or making us see a certain topic like war one way. We have seen this across all this year and last year from the media. It is genuinely shocking and scary. Our government feels as if it's being rolled over for companies and other nations for our data, whether they are further infringing our privacy, data collection to target ads at us, or other countries just monitoring us. It feels like we're in one big trap. And if you feel hopeless, I want you to know that you can still fight back. Never be afraid to send an email to your local politician. Don't give your ID to these companies. There will most likely be ways to bypass this if you just look it up. If you give up your ID once, it's theirs forever. And parents need to take a greater role in their kids' life. If you're a parent, please listen. It's worrying to see the government act as a dad over the next generation, where it can enforce rules as it wishes and potentially let companies take your child's data with small repercussions like fines. The more you monitor your kids, the less the government can get involved, and the more you can protect your child. Watch what they watch, see what they see, and protect them. Remember, politicians in the end will feel pushback when they know they won't gain votes. So use that just like Remember, politicians feel pushback when they know they won't get votes. So just like the digital ID from the UK that was stopped, use that as an example to push and let politicians know what you think.